Hello, Vol Nation. We are in for an exciting time today. My name is Sarah Hillyer. I'm the director of the Center for Sport, Peace, and Society. We are housed here in the College of Education, Health, and Human Sciences, and we are in for such a treat with LaVonna Martin-Floreal. She is a 1989 graduate of the College of Education, a two-time Olympian, and an amazing human being that I've had the privilege of getting to know over these crazy COVID times. So I'm going to bring LaVonna in with us. So bear with us. We're trying these fancy technology things, and we'll get LaVonna connected and have an amazing conversation. So grateful. LaVonna, we are happy to have you and can't wait to see you here. So while we're waiting, let me give you a little information about the center. We started in 2012 and again housed in the College of Education. And our role is to use the power in the intersection of sport, education, and social innovation to create a more equitable, inclusive, and peaceful world. And we count the work that we do as a tremendous privilege and honor to carry on Coach Summitt's legacy, knowing that her commitment to education and the 100% graduation rate. And although many of us know Pat from the legacy that she left in Thompson Bowling, LaVonna, welcome. I'm just bragging on Coach Summitt and the legacy that we get to carry on.
Great.
It's great to see you. So we're all so aware of Pat's legacy, and every time we go to Thompson Bowling, it's obvious the wins and the championships and all of that. But I think those of us, and LaVonna is one of them, that have had the privilege of knowing Pat on a personal level, it is so important to carry her legacy on in a way that goes beyond the hardwood, beyond the court. And so here at the center, we have the privilege of doing that. And we do that by using sport to empower women and girls, persons with disabilities, refugees. So we're using sport as a tool for social impact and social change. Currently, we are working with about 209 sports leaders from 86 countries. So Coach Summitt's legacy is happening around the world. And we are so incredibly proud. LaVonna, speaking of proud, I am so proud to know you these days, and welcome, and thank you so much for taking time with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always nice to come back home.
Absolutely, and home sweet home it is. So let me, if it's okay with you, you are an incredibly humble person. Let me brag on you a little bit. You're a 1989 grad of the College of Education. You are a two-time Olympian, a silver medalist in the Olympics, but you also have a gold and a bronze to round that out from the Pan Am Games and the Goodwill Games. You were raised in Dayton, Ohio, and I love that you always tell me that you ended up in the burbs because your parents wanted to give you great access and opportunity to participate in sports and to become a champion. So I also think it's quite hysterical that at the Olympic Games, not only did you manage to win a silver medal, you managed to land your man. You found your husband.
Or better yet, he found
at
me.
The Olympics. That's right. So Canadian triple jumper, and what a dream team you guys have been, and what a blessing you've been to student athletes over your all's career. So LaVonna, thank you. Anything I didn't add that you think is worthy for us to know and have some context today?
No, you did a great job. Thank you.
Very good. Well, when you and I talked, we landed a lot on our shared desire for real dialogue, and especially now with there's just so many things. And so as I was thinking about that, you kept using the words honesty, empathy, and humor, and just real, honest, raw dialogue. So where does this desire come from? Where do you think there's a gap, and why is it so timely and important to you?
I feel that I have been really blessed to not have wonderful, phenomenal parents that made a decision that was a pretty hard decision for them to move us from the city of Dayton and move us to the suburbs of Troutwood. And in them doing that for us, it exposed and opened up doors for me in terms of my interactions with people who didn't look like me, or maybe even people who didn't come from the same background as me, which then opened up doors within track and field, which then opened up doors for opportunities to go to college, because I was a highly recruited athlete. So I want all of us Vols to know is that I consciously chose the University of Tennessee because I had so many options of schools to choose from. And then coming to Tennessee opened up my eyes too to a whole nother world, coming to the South, coming in a more affluent-ish type environment. Coming in a tradition, a track and field tradition, a Lady Vol tradition. So there were so many things that I've been exposed to over a course of my life from my journey at Tennessee. And one of the things that I think we miss out on as a society is we just don't dialogue. You know, what we've had fun with is you getting to know me asking you some serious questions, you having to think about it. I mean, that discussion that we had about Black history and what Black history means to me and what it seems like from your perspective, that's kind of like what I want my journey to be from here on out.
Yeah, and you know, I've loved it because our dialogue, you give me the privilege of seeing the world differently, and hopefully I can exchange that. And I think we're so afraid of that now. You know, we're so afraid of offending one another. And in your mind, what does it take for dialogue to be productive? Like, is there a formula? Can you coach us in what it means to you? And when you want to have a conversation with a short white girl that played basketball, you know, like, what is it that you want out of that dialogue, and what's good practice?
Yeah, I think one of the things that, you know, again, that I've learned from my travels, from my experience as an Olympian is, I mean, at least in my situation, I have an instant conversation starter. I typically don't start off with my accolades, but somehow or another it comes up. And then once it comes up, it opens up a door where people are interested. And I think that's part of it, is finding things that are of interest, right? I mean, I say this humbly, but I also say this pretty frankly, is that oftentimes because of societal challenges, whether it be race, religion, ethnicity, gender, we all step into this idea of what we think is norms, what is normal. And again, as you and I have dialogued, you realize that I'm a pretty cool person.
Absolutely, you are.
And I have realized and had a great time getting to know you and what's going on at your center. And so it opened up a door where we can talk about things of interest, like my intense interest in wine. I love wine. And, you know, and we've had a really good dialogue about things that are my favorites in that realm.
We sure have, LaVonna, and I'm counting down to 5 o'clock so we can share a glass together after this.
Cheers.
Oh, very good. Okay, so what I'm hearing you say, and just to make it clear, LaVonna, I'm going to push back a little and say not all of us have the accolades to step into a conversation, but that's not what I'm heard. I'm only kidding. You said find those points of connection, right? Find the commonalities. So immediately when you and I started talking about this, we identified as women together, as former student athletes together, and then obviously Tennessee brings us together. And, you know, I think for all the alumni watching this, we also have several commonalities, and being a volunteer is one of those. And when I think about the legacy of the Lady Vols and what it means to be a volunteer, what has stuck with you that you've carried with you, that volunteer brand, and, you know, throughout your life? And gosh, what a life you've had of amazing impact. So maybe talk to us about just what the Lady Vol brand has meant to you and being a volunteer.
Yeah, so as a high schooler, as I said, I was a standout star in high school. And it's fascinating because I look back on my career as a high schooler and recognize that some of the things that I did in high school they don't supersede what I did as a collegian, but it threw me into this world. I mean, scoring all my team's points and winning the state championship twice is like is like super. And so it threw me into this whole other realm where I was able, I remember very vividly, my dad took me as a high schooler to go compete at dogwood relays. I don't know what, I'm not sure what it's called now. Maybe it's Sea Ray relays. I can't remember what it's called now, but dogwood relays. And the coach,
Okay.
Terry Crawford, who recruited me to the University of Tennessee, they
Also a
put
legacy.
me, that's right. And they put me in this race with all of these top hurdlers. And you couldn't have told me that I wasn't going to beat them. I mean, Benita Fitzgerald was in that race. She ended up winning a gold medal the next year.
Yep.
And so I was introduced to like the Lady Vol way. Like, I didn't beat them, of course, and I was devastated. But I wasn't supposed to. I was only 16, right? But
Yep.
the Lady Vol legacy, when I came on that campus, it was just like amazing. And this was just as a high school senior when I came on and to run this race. And Terry Crawford did a great job of selling the program, to me. And so I just wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah. And when you say the Lady Vol way, right? I mean, we're not insiders. I didn't play basketball here. Many of us aren't insiders. What for an insider does the Lady Vol way mean? Help shed light on that. And how can the rest of us embrace and use that Lady Vol way to make our impact and contributions to the world better and reflective of the amazing legacies that the Lady Vol brand has given us?
Yeah, I think that the only way I can explain it is like each of us has something in us that just, when we're connected to it, it makes us feel special. I mean, for some, it might be your children, and for others, it may be your job. And for some, it could be, if you're a part of a sorority like I am, it could be something that you just belong to something, or you just feel that there's something special about it. And what I felt with the Lady Vols, and in particular with the Lady Vol track and field athletes, that there was something that I just wanted to be a part of, and I wanted to run my heart out for, and I wanted to leave a legacy. And I felt very valued when I came to school, because I was a mama's girl, hadn't been really away from home as much, hadn't been in the world, so to speak. And so to come to a campus where I had an immediate sorority, for lack of a better word, and had an immediate set of friends that I'm still friends with after 30 something years, it's just something that kind of like draws to your heart. I'll give you another quick example. Okay. When I was at, I think I was at World University Games. Okay. Maybe one of these big meets. And so there are Vols and Lady Vols on the team with me. And we're going to, I think we were going to watch a volleyball game. And all of a sudden, Rocky Top plays.
No way.
And we started singing at the top of our lungs.
What country were you in?
I want to say we were in Japan. We were in Japan. And we just started singing at the top of our lungs, good old Rocky Top, and people are looking at us. That was the feeling I had with being a Lady Vol.
It's beautiful. Okay, so what I've taken away so far is it is so important to find points of connection, and a sense of belonging helps us to identify and find and embrace our purpose. Am I tracking you so far?
You are 100% like right in my lane.
Alrighty. Well, don't ever put me in your lane on the track.
Well, you might be okay now. I wouldn't let you beat me though, Sarah. Sorry.
Never. Okay, so I do want to talk about being in the lane on a track. I always have had, 100-meter hurdle. You couldn't pick a race more intimidating for a 5'5" white girl shooting guard. But I always thought about hurdlers as having this extra something, right? And it's not even really a metaphor. It's pretty obvious that like you have certain obstacles and you can anticipate those obstacles, but one misstep, one just tiny timing that's off, and those obstacles, those physical hurdles become much larger, figuratively speaking. And so as a hurdler, what have you learned about your life that you apply to your life? Like, how do you take being a hurdler and move that into real life? And what are some lessons for us?
That's a great question. That's a great question. And when I think about that, as you were speaking, I was thinking like, wow, there's so much that you can unpack in that. Number one, you can go through all the preparations you want in life, everything that you think that you can do to make sure that the race is going to go perfect. I mean, I liken this to parenting, right? So parenting, in my mind, I had this idea and I was going to be this perfect parent, and then boom, the gun goes off, and now I'm a parent and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I've fallen over hurdles. I've made it to the end. Sometimes I had to start all over. I mean, and I think that's the lesson in life, right? Is that you're going to fall, you're going to hit, but you got to keep going. I've hit so many hurdles that there's a spot on my knee that is the spot where I would hit a hurdle every time.
Do you still have like a little?
I still have it. It's deadened. I don't feel anything on it anymore. I mean, that's kind of sort of like parenting too. I mean, your kids, the way your kids are, sometimes you just have to deaden those spots, right? to make sure that they're not trying to pull one over on you. But ultimately, you make it to the end. I mean, I'm very blessed to have two adult, semi-adult, they think they're adults, but semi-adult children. I think that we've done, yeah, I know. I feel like we've done a great job. We're still having to mentor and encourage them. And that's what I learned from my coaches, is that, mentoring and encouraging is something that goes on for a lifetime. As a matter of fact, I'm still really good friends. We're friends now and really close to Terry Crawford. I still talk to her on a regular basis. What years
was she here as your coach?
Yeah, well, if Terry is on, because she was supposed to be on, and if she's on, she'll know what I'm gonna say. So Terry Crawford was this renowned female coach, and she was this great coach, won championships at Tennessee, great recruiter, recruited me to Tennessee, and then she left.
Terry, how could you?
And then she went off to the University of Texas and had a successful career at the University of Texas.
Yeah, she
did.
But
what I loved about Terry is that she always treated me as if I was still that athlete. And I think the reason why is because she's a true Lady Vol. She loved being a Lady Vol. She loved coaching a Lady Vol. She loved seeing the Lady Vols do well. And so she always encouraged me from the time that even when I was competing against her athletes at Texas, and worked very hard to make sure that I whooped up on them because I was mad that she left me. No, just
reminding her who the real UT is.
That's right. But even as an adult, even at the age, we have had some phenomenal. I mean, you're talking about being transparent. During this COVID time, Terry and I have had some great conversations about race, about gender, about politics. And that's because we've allowed ourselves to be transparent. And I think that's what happens, right? Is that you got to be comfortable to have a level of transparency. And in transparency, there's safety. And so I feel safe. And again, that's what the hurdles are. After time and time again, I felt safe that even if I nipped a hurdle, I was going to be fine. You try not to, but my goal was on your mark to the finish line. And I feel so blessed, so thankful, and so happy that I was able to represent my university and represent them at 2 Olympic Games.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I haven't asked you in our conversations recently that I've been dying to ask you is, if you could do UT over again, what would you do differently? If you could do this experience again, what would you do differently?
I say this, but I'm not sure if I really mean it, but I wish I had partied more.
Okay. Yeah, because the student athlete bubble is so tight, so you feel like you miss those social experiences. And I don't take party in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, my family, my aunts who are part of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, felt that I needed another dimension to me. And so they pretty much pushed me into pledging. And I did at the University of Tennessee, and I pledged Delta. And that kind of helped me to open up. As a matter of fact, those are women. I mean, the girls that I pledged with my sands, I'm still close to them and we still talk pretty regularly. So that meant I garnered these great friendships, and these are very successful women, lawyers and engineers. And, you know, so I mean, I think that gave me an opportunity to have that experience that I wanted. But I wish I just hadn't been so uptight and just understood that college is college and it's only going to be for a second, and I'll be fine.
Yep. Yep. So how do you go from college, right? It's so insular and the student athlete privilege and bubble. But, and I know track, you all are exposed to more international competition and more cultural and global ideals. What's it like to put on the American jumpsuit and uniform and represent the United States of America as an Olympian? What does that feel like? Help us feel that with you.
Yeah, it's a feeling. It's so indescribable. I can't describe it. I mean, I guess the best way I can say it is it's if you get that promotion that nobody else gets, that you were trying, you know, you were fighting other people out to get, because you think about it, only 3 people are going to make the Olympic team out of, you know what I mean, out of all. And so much can happen on that day, right? So it's not a given. And you beat everyone out for that job that you knew was going to change your life, right? Whether it changed your life financially or whether it changed your life status wise, it was going to change my life. I mean, I ended up teaching for 16 years, and it was the thing that I could easily hoodwink parents and students. I could bring out the medal and I can just hypnotize them with the medal. And it was an instant, you know, because that was something that they could never envision themselves doing and being.
Yeah, but they look at you and it gives them hope that, like, oh, if Miss LaVonna can do something amazing with her life, you know, that saying, especially as women, we lean on this a lot. If you see it, you can be it.
Yes, for sure. And I took that into teaching. I mean, I got the same kind of high in teaching that I got as an athlete, because I love that idea of helping kids set goals, using my skill set to kind of like to get them to understand. I mean, history is my thing. So to get them to the light bulb to click when it came to history. And then another one of my things was I'm an organizer. So parents love that, is that using that skill to help the kids learn how to organize themselves. I'm still in contact with many of those students to this day. And so, track, being a Lady Vol, going to the Olympics, it opened up so many doors for me that sometimes I even forget how blessed I am.
Sure. Well, it's your normal. And a good colleague of mine and we always say, you know, the privilege of sport, and you and I've talked about it, you know, it becomes our passport. Sport and education becomes our passport to the world. And the, you know, I'm thinking about, as we are rolling into summer, well, let's get through spring first, but into summer, you know, in June, we'll be celebrating the 49th anniversary of Title IX. And we're in Women's History Month right now. So just from your perspective in hindsight, because, you know, you were a student athlete in the 80s, you know, and so we were just a decade into this thing called Title IX that provided quality education and a passport to the world for those of us that were blessed. So what are your thoughts as you reflect on 49 years of Title IX, and maybe something for all of us to take with us to keep this mindful?
Yeah, Title IX, I remember that was like, would that be like 72? I think it was.
It was, yeah.
70? Yeah. So I remember very vividly, because that would be, I'm like, what, 6 or 7 years old. And my mother got me into everything. I mean, I was very blessed to have parents who, unfortunately, they grew up during the time of, you know, the tail ends of Jim Crow. And so some of their opportunities were not presented as it was presented for me, hence why they moved us to the suburbs. And my mother was a great track and field athlete who had aspirations of going to the Olympics as well. And that just didn't happen for her because of the time frame she was in. Well, in pops Title IX, and all of a sudden these doors, and I didn't realize it then, I realize it now, these doors opened up where I was playing soccer and I was playing softball and I was playing all these different sports. And it ushered in this idea that I could use my athletic ability to kind of wedge my way through society and end up at the University of Tennessee and end up being a Lady Vol. And so I think the takeaway that I would say is that, number one, never minimize your impact on the lives of people. Whatever sphere of influence that you had. I had a great opportunity to influence young people that could change the trajectory of many lives based on how, my interactions with them. So never minimize, where you're placed in life. Where, for me, it was where God placed me and the people that God placed in my life and the experiences that I continue to learn. I mean, I remind myself, because I thought, once I hit 50, I've learned all I need. And now I realize, as long as I'm above ground, I'm going to be learning more and more about myself. And I need to take what I'm learning, try and figure it out and understand me. And as I understand me, it makes it easier for me to dialogue with you. So I've had all of these great experiences, and then you and I meet at a time in my life where I'm trying to figure some things out, and you help me. So don't minimize your effect on my life. And then you help me and you say a few things, and everything, the juices start flowing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can still make an impact. It's just going to look differently.
Yes. Oh, what a blessing to hear that. And yes, you are still impacting. I think we just have a few more minutes. Is there anything that you want to leave with us? I mean, what's the takeaway or the summary? 30 minutes together, I want to walk away better. And every time I spend 30 minutes with you, I do walk away better. So what do you want to leave us with? You Olympian, amazing human making an impact on the world.
I mean, I guess you just said it. Whenever we have a chance to interact, or whenever we have a chance to impress, or whenever, and for me, it's always about the medal, and that gives me a chance to impress. I want you to walk away, or anyone to walk away, and feel as if you are empowered. I mean, that's what Title IX was. Title IX was about empowering women and giving us an opportunity to have some of the luxuries that our male counterparts were having. And that doesn't minimize the male counterparts at all. Absolutely. It just says, hey, we have some value and we can learn to be empowered as well. And that's what the University of Tennessee did. I didn't realize it then, but I realized it later, is that it empowered me by going to the top level track meets, by interacting with people who are outside of my comfort zone, by listening to these great coaches. I mean, Pat Summitt had a great influence on my life. I mean, she being this larger than life star, and then taking time and speaking to me and praising me and giving me a pat on the back. She will never, I did tell her this though, but she will never ever know how that lasting impression, and was indelible on my heart. And so just wanting us to recognize that we have a whole lot to offer. I guess the final thing I would say is, don't be afraid to interact and to talk with people who are different. I mean, because oftentimes, we're in the world that we're living in now, we're so segregated, but you could learn so much. I mean, we have learned so much from each other just in the short time that we've got to know each other. So don't be afraid, interact and enjoy.
I love it. You almost from Dayton sound like a Southerner. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Oh my goodness. Well, so many takeaways. Finding that sense of belonging, finding points of connection. All of us here are UT alums. And with that comes tremendous privilege to connect with people around the world. Everybody knows the University of Tennessee, and much in part because of the amazing coaches and athletics program. And so how do we use the University of Tennessee and that volunteer mindset and the way that we see the world is how can we as volunteers serve this amazing world that we live in, and there's so much need. And so honestly, if I walk away today with just a healthy reminder of find points of connection, meaningful points of connection, embrace that sense of belonging so that we can find our best selves. And let's really leverage the power of being UT volunteers to serve this amazing world. So LaVonna, you make me better every single time we talk to each other. And I love you, sister.
Awesome.
And it
Love
was a
you
privilege.
too, sis.
Yeah, it was a privilege to be with you and be with everybody else. So take good care.
Awesome.
All right,
Bye,
see ya.
Vols.
Bye, Vols.